Hello and welcome to PMCLounge.com. In this video, we are going over the tools and techniques of the control quality process. Now, as we go further and discuss this topic, you will realize that some of the tools and techniques have been covered in our previous videos already. So whatever that's left over, that's what is being covered as part of this video. As always, if you're into reading articles, then first link in the description is going to take you to an article on this topic over at our official website, pmclounge.com. So check that out. Second link is going to be a playlist that contains every single video of quality management knowledge area. So if you want to understand the different processes under quality management knowledge area, if you want to go over the different tools and techniques, inputs, outputs, everything that you need to know about quality management knowledge area, second link is where you need to go to. There are going to be other important links in the description as well, which we will talk about as we move further. So that being clear, that being said, let's get started and go over the tools and techniques of controlled quality process. A quick reminder, please hit the like button. That seems to be the only way YouTube is going to remind you every time we upload new content. So where are we? How come out of the blue we are talking about the tools and techniques of one of the quality management process? So we are talking about control quality. This, like I just said, is a process in the quality management knowledge area, and this is actually a monitoring and controlling process. So here is the PGKA mapping, the process group knowledge area mapping. So we are talking about quality management knowledge area. We are talking about monitoring and controlling process group. This is the process known as control quality. And in this process, what are the tools and techniques that are used? That's what we are discussing today. Now let's try to understand the importance of this process specifically from real world perspective. How important do you think is control quality? How important do you think this process really is? Now, like we just discussed, this is a process in the monitoring and controlling process group. And processes in this process group have something to do with measurements. So when you are controlling quality, when you are performing this process of control quality, you are basically measuring the quality of the product of the project or one of the deliverables of the project. So that is why this is extremely important process. And let's say the product of your project is a mobile phone, and in control quality, you are going to test the quality of that mobile phone. So you can now imagine how important this process really is. And that is the reason why this process needs to be as comprehensive as possible. Like I said in the beginning of this video, you're already aware of some of the tools used in this process, like the 7 basic quality tools. Third link in the description is going to be a playlist of all the 7 basic quality tools. There are going to be 7 videos. Check them out. Very important. Those again are basically tools and techniques that are used in the control quality process as well. So let's go over the tools and techniques of control quality process, which are not part of the 7 basic quality tools, starting things off with performance reviews. Now, performance reviews is how the project team evaluates the current measurements of the product quality against expectations. So let me try to explain this, and let me borrow the example that we took in the previous slide. And that was the fact that the product of your project was actually a mobile phone. So in that project, what you're doing now is that the project team is evaluating the current measurements of the product quality against what is expected. So let's say the criteria here is the start time of the mobile phone. You want to measure how much time the phone is currently taking to start or to boot itself. So let's say the expectations here is that the boot time is going to be 5 seconds. The phone should start in 5 seconds. That's the expectation. And when you're doing performance review, you'll basically switch on the phone and you are going to measure how much time the phone takes to boot up. If it's 5 seconds, you are basically meeting the performance review, right? The performance review criteria, you're basically meeting it. But if the start time is more than 5 seconds, then that start time is basically more than what was expected. Let's say it's 8 seconds, and that is 3 seconds more than what was expected out of the mobile phone. Let's take another example. In a software development project, the quality expectation is that the code should not contain more than 10 non-critical bugs per 10,000 lines of code. So every 10,000 lines of code written by the development team should not contain more than 10 non-critical bugs. So when you do performance review, you are going to perform an analysis. You're doing performance review analysis here, and when you did that, you found that there were actually more than 10 non-critical bugs, and that is why this quality criteria is not met. So the product of your project basically failed the performance review. Performance review is not the same as audit. We have done a video on this as well. Fourth link in the description will take you to that video. If you're new to project management, this free 1.5 hour training course is your gateway to the world of project management. Check it out at pmclounge.com/pm101. All right, let's talk about the second tool that we need to discuss as part of this video, which is root cause analysis, also known as RCA. Now, root cause analysis, again, it is pretty much what it sounds like. This is where the project team tries to find out the reason or the root cause of the occurrence of defects. So if you see that while testing the final product of the project, you've come across 60 defects, are they related by any means? And let's take a look at an example. So in the software development project, if you take a defect or a bug and you try to find out the root cause rather than simply fixing the bug individually, you may discover that the same root cause is responsible for some of the other bugs as well. So fixing this root cause would be more efficient than individually fixing bugs. So here's an example. Here's an example that even a layman can understand. Painkillers will only take away the pain temporarily. They are not going to fix your wrist. So let's say after the sports session today, you have your wrist that is all banged up. You don't know what's wrong. What you can do is you can take painkillers, and that is going to provide you temporary relief, but that is not the root cause analysis of your wrist. When you visit a doctor and the doctor does what doctors do, that is only when you will have a root cause analysis of your wrist, and that's how you can fix the root cause and not just simply take painkillers, which are going to provide you temporary relief without fixing the root cause. One of the techniques that is used in finding out the root cause is asking why multiple times. This is also known as 5 whys technique. So the idea is if you see something's wrong, you ask the question, why is it wrong? Based on the answer you get, you can then ask another why question, which is basically derived from the first answer that you got. So when you do this for 5 times, it is likely that you are going to reach to the root cause of the situation. All right, now let's talk about another tool, which is inspection. Now, inspection is actually very different from performance review. Some might think that in performance review, you performed certain tests. In inspection, you might perform certain tests again. So what is the difference between the two? While performance review focused on the performance of the product of the project, inspection is centered around the standards that your project needs to follow, the product of your project or the interim deliverables of your project need to follow. So these standards could be internal, they could be defined at your organization level, or these standards could be external, they could be defined by the government. While performance review is basically the product performance that you're trying to achieve. You're trying to achieve a load time, the boot time of 5 seconds. So that is the performance you're trying to achieve. But if the government mandates that all mobile phones need to be waterproof, then that's a standard that you need to follow. And performance review is something that is internal to your project. That is something that your project team can do. But there could be quality inspectors that might check your mobile phone to ensure that you are following the standard set by the government, which is that your mobile phone should be waterproof. So that's the difference between inspection and performance review. Inspection, it could be applicable to interim deliverables as well. Your battery needs to be waterproof as well. So interim deliverables of the product of your project might also have to comply to standards. And like I said earlier, performance review could be something very internal to your project, could be something that you are trying to achieve as part of your project. But standards are, it could be at your organization level, it could be at the government level, it could be external, where external quality inspectors come in and ensure that you are following the standards. Inspection is actually an important concept when it comes to Agile. The sooner you find a defect, the easier and cheaper it is going to be to fix that defect. Now, many Agile practices focus on the creator of the deliverable inspecting their own work. So you don't need a separate testing department. What you need is a team that creates the deliverable and inspects it as well, tests their own work as well. Now they can also make use of peer reviews. So if I am writing the code, I would want my peer to review the code for me. So you can do that, and that is basically a part of the definition of done as well. So you can mark this deliverable as done only once the code is reviewed by a peer. So that could be basically a practice that you follow in the agile world. Finally, the last tool that we need to discuss today is testing or product evaluations. I hope you remember our recent video on test planning. If not, I will link it in the description below, the fifth link in the description if I have not lost count yet. So go over the test planning video if you want to know more about test planning. But this is something that you would do in the plan quality management process. That is where you do test planning. Now here we are in the control quality process, and we are making use of the test planning that we did. Basically, we came up with certain test cases, and in the control quality process, we are going to execute those test cases on the project deliverables. Now, once you execute those test cases, the result of executing such test cases is going to give you whether or not the deliverables of your project conform to the quality that you want to achieve as part of your project. Now, let's say there are certain deliverables that don't conform to the quality that you want to achieve, then that is where you are going to file a defect or a bug. Because if there is a deliverable which does not conform to the quality that you basically wanted to achieve, that you had designed your test cases around, you now have bugs to fix, you now have defects that you need to fix. The project team, they are going to review all such defects, and then they are going to take a decision whether or not they are going to fix these bugs. Remember, when you are making fixes, it also impacts the ongoing project work. It can have impacts on the project constraints. Do you have the time to fix these bugs, right? You may have planned work which could be impacted if you fix every single bug that you find, right? So the project team needs to make that decision how many defects they are going to fix. But again, when you run test cases, you are basically doing testing or evaluating your overall product. So that is how test planning that you did in plan quality management process gets used in quality control quality process when you execute all those test cases. Question for this video: do you take care of quality management yourself as the project manager, or do you have a quality manager or a test manager assigned to your project as well? Let me know in the comments. Definitely looking forward to your answers. And that is all that we had in this video. I hope you got value out of it and you were able to understand the different tools that are used in control quality process. 7 basic quality tools, again, a very important concept. I would urge you to watch that playlist right away. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified whenever we upload new content. Also, don't forget to check out the website pmclounge.com, your #1 free PMP resource. Thank you and have a nice day.